Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to all our 12 Monarchs out there in Monarch Nation, coming off a 66-10 win over Albany Saturday night, our 32nd consecutive sellout. It was a blue out. It was an outstanding crowd. For that, we're grateful. Thank you, 12 Monarchs, as always. 3-2 on the year now, and 3-0 at home. And one of our quests this year is to try to be undefeated at home, which we've never done. We're halfway there, and hopefully we can keep that going this weekend. Very pleased with our improvement in all three phases. I felt like we got better as a team on special teams, defense, and offense. Saturday night, we had 56 players that had the opportunity to contribute to this win, and that's critical right now as we're trying to win now, but also develop this team for the future. To have 56 players be able to play and get meaningful snaps in this game, that'll go a long way in our development. Starting with special teams, we had 2 blocks in this game. We blocked a punt, which led to a touchdown by Eric Lewis, and then we also blocked a field goal. Rashad Coward got a piece of a field goal that eventually led to a score. So that was great to see, to get a couple blocks, the kids executing some things we were doing on special teams, made all of our kicks, which I was excited with, and then to have, as we are right now, just developing so many guys on special teams. Pleased with that. Defensively, this was a solid performance from our defense. Overall, we competed. We played very physical. I thought one of the keys for us is we were very focused as a defense going into this game. The kids' preparation last week, their planning, did a great job getting themselves ready. We had 27 players that were involved on defense, and for 27 players to be involved, regardless of what the score was, we had a regular rotation going into this game as we continue to try to develop a solid 2 deep. And for those young guys to play as much as they're playing right now, the veteran guys played well in this game. We had 3 more true freshmen that played in this game. Jude Brenya started at defensive end for Terrell Reed, who was out with an injury. Jude played very well. Daquan Moore, safety, played really well in this game. And then Aaron Young got in the game at corner. So 3 more of the true freshmen played, and I was pleased with all 3 of their performances. And also, I should add, Daquan Moore and Aaron Young adding to our all-star team, our special teams. Both those guys performed well on the all-star team. I felt like we responded from adversity in this game. We keep using that word adversity around our defense, but early in this game, Albany, we were up 7-0, took the opening drive down the field and scored, and Albany came back and answered with a 7-play, 82-yard drive for a touchdown, and the critical play was a 55-yard touchdown pass where we had a blown coverage. You know, we had a new guy, Malik Johnson, playing his first college snaps at Rover. We blow the coverage, then we miss a couple tackles, touchdown, and we responded right after that. The next drive, those guys went out on the field, and Malik Johnson tips a pass, Volante Misher intercepts it, and then we're off and running. And for the rest of the game, Albany ran 58 plays for a total of 243 yards and 3 points. So we responded from that first drive very well. The kids really bounced back after that. And this was an Albany team that had been averaging 400 yards and 25 points going in. So to hold them to 320 yards total and 10 points, I was pleased with that. Offensively, 66 points, 614 yards on 84 plays. We were 11 for 13 on 3rd and 4th down, which if you look at our last 3 games and our production on 3rd down, what we're doing, that's really critical to what we've been able to do in keeping drives alive. I feel like we can play better on offense than we are right now. It's always about Old Dominion. It's always about our improvement. But when you look and see 4 drop passes in the first half, we had some missed assignments. We had miscommunication on protections and blitzes, and that's between the quarterback and the offensive line and the running backs. We had a couple of 5-yard penalties on that first drive in the second half where we had 2 of our senior offensive linemen jump off sides. We had DJ Morrell on the first one, and we pulled him out of the game. And then 2 plays later, Jack Lowney, the senior captain, he jumps, and we pulled him out of the game. And Brian Scott and our offensive staff are sending a very clear message to our guys that Even though we are performing well in terms of points, yardage, and productivity, we can play better. We're capable of playing better, because all I need to do is pull back that video from Maryland where we only scored 10 points and we had 3 turnovers to remind ourselves that when we're playing a high level of competition on offense, we need to be more productive, and we can't have it be breakdowns from within that are hurting us. With that said, 26 players were involved in this game on offense. We're developing our backup ones. I'm really pleased when I see David Washington go in the game and protect the football and find ways to get first downs. And saw the entire offensive, the backup one's offensive line get to play. So that's critical right now as we continue to develop our football team. I want to be clear, it's not just about the development of our defense right now, it's also the development of our offense and our special teams. Excuse me. This week's opponent, Liberty, is 3-2, coached by Turner Gill. Their 2 losses, one is to Kent State, who's a 1A team in the MAC, and the other was to Richmond. Close game they lost on the road. Richmond's the number 20 team in the country right now, and FCS, somebody we're familiar with in the CAA. Offensively, this is an explosive group. They average 37 points, 300 yards. Defensively, they've got a veteran group right now. They've got 18 seniors and they're 2 deep. They give up 290 yards and only 15.8 points a game. And overall, it's really a contrast in teams when you look at how inexperienced we are and you look at this Liberty team. They've got 32 seniors and juniors in the 2 deep, so I expect they'll be well coached. I don't expect they'll be intimidated by coming into this environment, and they're quality football team. I think they're the best overall team we've played since East Carolina and Maryland, and I say that talking about their defense, their offense, and their special teams, all 3 phases of what they have as a team. We'll need to improve this week in practice. We've got a lot we need to work on to get better, and this will be a critical week for us to improve in all 3 phases. And I'll take questions.
Hey, Bobby, penalties aside that you brought up on offense,
Yeah.
as productive as you guys are, and especially producing in the red zone, what more do you guys need to do offensively? How much better can you get?
Well, we can play, I feel like we can play faster, Dave. I feel like we slow ourselves down right now, particularly with penalties, or at times where we have miscommunication in protection. Now, I say that, we're seeing a lot right now from other defenses. We're seeing specialty defenses right now. People are, they're doing their homework on us, particularly what Maryland did. People are looking and seeing what Maryland did to us with some of their 3-down packages and their nickel and dime substitutions and the different blitzes they ran at us, and people are studying that, and they're showing us those looks. So from our standpoint, our kids have got to do a much better job of studying what's hurt us, and then understanding when they get into the game, our communication has to be better. So that's the most critical area right now, Dave. That in terms of the 4 drop passes, that's strictly a lack of focus. The 2 penalties, that's a lack of focus. Those are execution errors that the players, have to handle that. The players have to handle catching the ball. Players have to handle not jumping off sides. We've got to do a better job as coaches of making sure they understand what the communication pieces are in the game.
Are people defending you guys differently this year? You talk about package and specialty defenses differently this year, even than what you saw last year?
Not a lot different, other than what Maryland did. East Carolina basically played their package. They played their defense. They stuck with their plan. Maryland had a couple things especially that they had put in for us, which I'm not surprised. Maryland's defense coordinator, been an NFL guy, been around, veteran staff. They had a really good plan in there. It's not a lot different, Dave. There's only so many things you can do because of how fast we go. But we're seeing some looks right now that some of it from Maryland, some of it just packages that people play, and our communication needs to get better. And that's something as coaches and players we got to improve on offensively.
Defensively, obviously, the recent suspensions, what concerns do you have in You always talk about depth and how
Mhm.
important that is on the defensive side of the ball. How do you
Mhm.
handle things from this point forward
In terms, handle what?
now? Just in terms of trying to improve and not fall
Mhm.
backwards in any way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. You want to maintain what you're doing defensively now.
Right. Well, the number one thing we've got to continue to do is we've got to continue to evaluate the players we have and what they're capable of. I was meeting with Coach Nagy this morning, our defensive coordinator, and he's got a lot of really good ideas of what he'd like to implement and what we'd like to do. But I'm always very guarded about how much can our players handle. You know, how much schematically can we make for adjustments? And we played a different front, different coverage element against Albany. And we played a lot of man coverage in the Albany game. We hadn't done that up to this. So he basically put in an adjusted scheme, and it worked well. Kids did a great job with it. So we've got to continue to evaluate how much more of that can we do. And that's always the challenging part, but that's the fun part about coaching. You know, you're looking at your guys and saying, what can we do? Because Liberty's got certain things they do on offense they do really well. And we've got to look at how much can we adjust to take away what they do well. You know, they're averaging 400 yards a game. You know, they're a productive offense, good quarterback, veteran group. And those are the things that are challenges we have to keep evaluating, because we're doing this with players that they're trying to gain confidence. They're trying to learn how to play with technique right now, particularly all these new players. And then we're trying to adjust scheme to fit who we're playing and who we're going against. And we made some tremendous progress in the Albany game just from the standpoint of our players taking some adjustments on defense, some new scheme, and having success with it. And I'm hoping that'll build their confidence as well.
Just to follow up on that, because you had
Mhm.
mentioned the fact that, you know, not a lot of these kids have played
Right.
college ball.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a fine line between, because of their lack of experience, and then
Mhm.
putting just enough, or not
Mhm.
making sure you don't put too much on?
Yeah, there's a very fine line with that, and particularly as I'm saying to Coach Nagy and the defensive coaches right now, I want them to stick to the rotations. You know, I want them to keep playing everybody. Well, you've got certain kids that can handle certain things, and you've got other kids that have a hard time with the adjustments, but boy, they play fast when they know what they're doing. So that's really making it even more challenging for Coach Nagy and our defensive staff. And the challenge I keep putting forward to our defensive players is just keep playing as fast as you can. You know, don't lose confidence in your ability to play as fast and as hard as you can. We'll keep growing, and we're making a lot of progress. This was a big step for us. The Albany game was a big step, just from the standpoint of making some adjustments with what we were doing defensively, and the kids going out and be successful with it. And yeah, I don't want to mislead anybody here. Albany wasn't Maryland or East Carolina, you know, and it certainly wasn't that Rubik's Cube that is the Citadel and the Triple. But the progress, the kids' confidence, their ability to particularly respond from that first drive, and then have success in some different areas of the game. Have some success in the red zone. Have some success on third down. Get a couple turnovers. You know, get a couple interceptions. You know, our last 3 games, our defense has created 9 turnovers. You know, that's critical. They gain confidence from doing that. And then when they look at the scoreboard and see there's only 10 points and the other team's score at the end of the game, that's good for their confidence too. So we've got to keep evaluating what we're capable of doing, because there's so much more schematically we can do right now, but we can only go at the pace that the players can handle.
I had a quick question about Taylor, actually. I was a little surprised with given the healthy lead that they had throughout the third quarter, that he pretty much played the whole third quarter. Is that something you as a staff talk about ahead of time? Like, if we're in a good position, we're going to go ahead and play him until this period? Or is that something you evaluate as the game is going on, whether give him another series and keep him out there and run the risk of getting him knocked up or banged up or something like that?
Well, we decided at halftime he was going to play the first 2 series
Okay.
of the second half, and we wanted our offense to stay together, keep developing. And then we wanted to play some other players with him within those first 2 series. And for whatever reason, there were a couple longer drives in there. I think Albany had a couple long drives in there. He played his 2 series, and then he was done.
Coach, how much do you prepare for Liberty, the team,
Mhm.
and prepare for Liberty with the head coach, Jeremy Gill?
It's all one package. I mean, we're preparing for Liberty. We've gone back and looked at last year, some stuff they've done and what they've done, because they've been a little bit different offensively between last year and this year, but we're basically preparing for them. You know, we're aware of him, and we're aware of his offensive coordinator, and, you know, his offensive line coach, assistant head coach, worked with him at Nebraska, was a head coach at Western Carolina, so we've studied everybody's background and what they do, but we're primarily focused right now on their quarterback and what they've shown schematically these first 5 games, and then some of what they've done last year, because some of what they've done last year is a little bit different.
I mean, for a lot of teams this season, you are the biggest game on their schedule, and that's, I was talking to the guy who does a blog on Liberty football, and he said they had a vote of their fans in the summer, and you were the biggest game on their schedule. I mean, Citadel obviously was very enthusiastic about
Right.
playing here. I mean, is that something you've talked to your kids about? Hey, you know, we're a target every week when we're playing these home games against SCS schools.
I don't as much talk to him, Harry, as about we're a target. I talk to him about the fact that, you know, because our atmosphere here is so good, because we're 32 consecutive sellouts, that players, teams get excited to play in this atmosphere. Not unlike when we went to East Carolina, you know, how excited we were to go play in that atmosphere. So I just remind the kids each week that, you know, we can never take this for granted, because how awesome it is for us, and that other teams are pretty excited when they come in here. And you mentioned Citadel, they were excited. I know from talking to Bob Ford, his players were really excited to come play here. It's such a great place to play. And I do point that out to them, that when other teams come in here, they're usually very excited to come here.
You didn't punt Saturday, but had you punted, it would have been Joe Pulisic. Can you talk a little bit about the competition between he and Jake?
Yeah, it could have been either one of them based on field position. You know, if we go with what we call our sky punt, which is a punt that we're trying to down inside the 20, then it would have been Jake Walsh. If we had been punting from our own end, then it would have been Joe. And, you know, at this point, we're trying to develop both those guys right now, develop both the punters. So both of them could be playing right now. Hopefully we can stay on the track we're on right now, where it's they're on the sideline cheering for their teammates. Like to keep it that way.
Do you expect to get, you mentioned Terrell, obviously missing last game with injury. Do you
Yeah.
expect to get him back, or and any of the other guys who are nicked up, dinged up? Kind of what's the injury update right now?
Yeah, Terrell Reed, from all indications, will be back this week. He probably could have played Saturday. We decided to hold him out just to try to give him the best opportunity to get healed up. Nate Barnes is still questionable for this one with his knee injury. You know, I've talked to Nate, and as badly as he wants to play, like with all of our kids, I want to make sure he's healthy before he's back out on the field. Particularly, Dave, at those positions, the interior line positions, it's hard to defend yourself. And the defensive lineman, the interior D lineman get cut so much, which scares me with his knee. So we'll see how he does in practice this week. If I feel like he can move and defend himself, then he may play this weekend. If not, then if it's even close, we'll hold him out, and then we've got 2 weeks to prepare for Pittsburgh. Other than that, we should be all hands on deck with a few bumps and bruises.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, 12th Monarchs. We will be striping the stadium Saturday night at home versus Liberty. Look forward to seeing you there.